The heat came from his post-speech scrum, and that's where he said that the NDP have rigged the election race. So I really think it sets the tone for how this is going to go. He's referring to the per-vote subsidy that political parties get from Elections BC. That was put in place right early in the NDP mandate because to replace big money in elections, each party would get a per-vote subsidy in the last election. So based on that, he says the NDP is getting an $8 million head start.
Let's take a listen.
You know, it's interesting. The NDP have rigged the election rules. They actually have given themselves a $2 per vote subsidy for every vote they got in the last election every year. And on top of that, they got half of the money they spent in the last election back. They've started with an $8.1 million head start on the Conservative Party of British Columbia.
Okay, what was the reaction from the reporters? What was the reaction when he said that?
Well, I just think, again, it really sets the tone for how things are going to go. You know, I think we didn't have time to research at the time the votes, for example, but you know, I do recall that I think the BC Liberals were in support of reforms to the election financing at the time. So.
Because it was a really big issue, the corporate donations, right?
Yes.
I think we're called the Wild West when it comes to
exactly.
corporate big money, as they called it, in elections. And so he's basically laying down the gauntlet, isn't he? Yeah,
and I think, again, it speaks to the fact that in the 2020 election, the BC Conservatives got 2% of the vote. So based on that, they're going to get about $250,000 from the last 4 years from Elections BC compared to about $6.3 million for the NDP. So it is accurate that they're starting from behind in some respects. And again, their campaign apparatus isn't as sophisticated as the NDP. Premier David Eby right now is launching the NDP bus. You know, he got on the bus with his family. He had, you know, baby Gwen, 2-month-old, in a carrier, bringing them on the bus. So the NDP has a bus that media can ride on to be at all the events, whereas the Conservatives are doing it a more grassroots way. And the last time I talked to their campaign director a few weeks ago, he said they're building the plane as they're flying it. So, and really, they are coasting on some of the momentum of their surge in the polls, but whether they have the apparatus to, you know, out campaign the NDP will be what we have to look for, especially in those battleground ridings in Metro Vancouver.
That's right. Something to watch for in these next few weeks.